Rosalind, it just seems like this is so overwhelming to people that they really want to back off. They don't want to hear this stuff. And, case in point, when we interviewed the mayor that you were so gracious enough to set us up with, he really didn't want to tell the story about his awakening, how you had approached him several times about this. He'd kind of blown you off. But he was at a picnic with his wife when he saw one of these persistent jet contrails.
Yes, he saw several, and it really worried him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And but he got it, and so I think that people can get it, and I think that we have to realize that we can all make a difference, and we can put a stop to some of this. And I think that we have to join together and do that. And if we stick to the facts of what we can prove, we can do it. And so I encourage everyone to take heart that we're only defeated if we believe we can't do anything and we're powerless, or we just go and hide in a hole because we're afraid. I think that we can all speak out and step forward, and when we do, we become a powerful voice for change.
And we can be persistent. Somebody may not be, the most, they may not be able to take the information the first time, the second time, but it's going to be in their head. And finally something may wake them up, and then they're going to ask you for even more information. I find that the case more often than not.
Oh, I find that also, too. Could I make one comment about nuclear power plants? I'd like to go back to that subject just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone wants to look at where these plants are going to be located, they go to www.nrc.gov and then just type in new reactor map, and it will come right up. And what I wanted to say for your listeners is that there's 3 plants planned for Texas. I'm looking at the map right now. One is in Amarillo, one looks like it's near Dallas, and one looks like it's at Comanche Peak in South Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Each of these has 2 units. And then you've got units in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. South Carolina looks like it has 2. North Carolina has 1. Then you've got Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, Missouri, Idaho, and Utah. So there's quite a range here of places where they have proposals for these power plants that they want to fund through the new energy bill.
All right, let's go to our next caller. Let's go to James in Massachusetts. James, you're on the air.
Hi, Jason. Boy, so much to talk about in so little time. I'll get right to it. Rosalind, I thank God for troublesome women. I heard what you said about the weather thing. People do not understand, most of them, that weather is merely the attempt of the Earth to achieve equilibrium. And what bothers me is messing with the throwing in the human variables. Now I lost my point. I'll just jump off. Good job anyway, Jason.
All right, thank you. Well, yeah, the human variables out there, when you're willing to kill, 11.7 marine mammals, when you're not even going to count the amount of aquatic life, the fish that you're going to kill there as well, you're not even going to be concerned with the human beings that make a living by fishing that area and not even announce to them that this is going to happen. And again, we're only a month away from these drills and 6 days away from you being able to put your statements, your comments on the record. And it is going to take a lot of people calling their congressmen, their city councilmen, their state senators, their actual senators, for anything to be done about this naval drill issue. On top of that, I mean, it's been just an uphill battle for you and others like you to try to get the persistent jet contrail issue out there. But, at least you got to speak before the UN once. I mean, I hope that more people do take this on. I mean, you've also been on the local news. The Discovery Channel came out and did a special. A lot of that was a hit piece. But we are starting to see this stuff more in the mainstream, Rosalind. Case in point, the History Channel has this new show called That's Impossible, where they dedicated an entire hour to quote-unquote weather warfare.
Yes, and they've had a second one since the weather warfare on military hardware of current and future, which I thought was excellent because I'd seen that they were using some of this in warfare already. So this program is really a good program if anybody wants to watch the whole series.
Yeah, I think the one you're talking about is the Real Terminators program, right, where they go over the big dogs and some of the other artificial intelligence they're starting to use in robotics overseas.
Yes, and there's that too. So there's a lot coming out about what we can expect in the future on these issues. But in response to your previous caller who was talking about weather modification, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison of Texas has a weather modification bill number 601, which we've been working to defeat because it would allow anyone to modify or mitigate the weather without congressional oversight, without public consent or even knowledge of these programs. So we're working to defeat that bill this year in the U.S. Congress. And also, I wanted your listeners to know that right now there's no laws that protect the public from weather modification programs. Anyone can modify your weather without your consent using any chemical, any method, at any time, and there's no congressional oversight. There is no, for the most part, state oversight over any federal program, and most states don't have any oversight bodies except for Texas has a board that talks about weather modification and has meetings.
So what kind of direction would you point people in to combat this? I mean, obviously, it's of great concern that some kind of a private corporation or government entity can just change your weather without having to tell your community, your local representatives, and have no repercussions brought against them.
Right, because most people wouldn't know. But the problem here is that it's going to negatively impact agriculture just like it's been doing in the panhandle of Texas. And the August 6, 2000 meeting of the Weather Regulatory Commission in Texas has that meeting is online, and it's worth listening to because the Texas Panhandle ranchers are really complaining bitterly about the problems they're having in the Panhandle with weather modification programs, taking away water from their ranches so that the grass doesn't grow, and it's going to put them out of business with their cattle. And also, when you move weather around or water from one place to another, you can create an artificial drought in one area and too much rain in another. So they can't always control the end results of those programs.
Roslalind Peterson of CaliforniaSkywatch.com. How can people support your efforts and get involved?